Welcome everybody tonight. We have Mochi token, an Ethereum-based token. I've been reading a lot about this. It's came up in our deal flow committee. Really cool goals and an overall mission. Some of the things that they're doing different is bringing value back to their community in several ways, actually. So they've posted that they're going to do passive income via staking, also exploring some of the new sectors in the space, like the Metaverse, also coming out with safety tips and some educational resources for novice investors and experienced investors in the space. So kind of like a really full service, I would say, project. And from what also I've read, you've came out with the swap, which I want to get to later in the call. But without further ado, I want to introduce Top, the dev of the project, Mochi. We have the pleasure of speaking with him tonight and getting a presentation over the project. So Top, to get us started off, my friend, I think it's helpful to kind of learn maybe a little bit more about yourself, what brought you to DeFi, and kind of how the inception of Mochi was created.
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and start with a little bit of my background and where I came from and what got me to the point to put the team together to make Mochi and bring it to fruition. To start, I've been in the crypto space for about 3.5 years now, fully active. But I was introduced to crypto way early on, and just like everybody, thought it was a joke. Had I got in on Bitcoin, would have had a great opportunity many, many years ago. But I've been in for about 3.5 years. I've had about 2 years of actually working with different teams in different fields on different projects, and a year and a half at first where I was essentially just a trader and introducing all the different sectors. I've worked on about 4 or 5 projects in this entire time span. The most noted project that I worked with was Hawk last year. I worked on their team for just over 7 months. And in that time period, we actually achieved around an 860 plus mil market cap from scratch. So it was really awesome and quite an adventure. A lot that we learned with marketing and different avenues and such. But I did leave the team in mid-November of last year and started to pursue some of my own things, which was Mochi, which is actually, I think, late December of last year was actually when I started putting the concept and plans together for Mochi. And some of the reasons that we became Mochi was due to all of the things that I saw in the space. I come from a background where honesty is key and it saves you from a lot of drama in between. And when I was working on other projects, you see a lot of false promises, ill delivery, and a lot of different things that I didn't like, which is what caused me to create my own team instead of working with other teams. And I also saw a need for education and help in the space because people don't want to deliver that. So going through my past experiences led me to this point. And like I said, we've kind of been working behind the scenes on this. Like you said, we have a swap and a lot of different plans, which I'll hash into. But that's kind of my background where I came from. And other members of my team have a relatively similar experience. Chirpy is kind of like my right hand and partner in this entire venture. And he actually worked on the Kishu team for a while. And they did the same kind of concept in the same period, but their market cap went to like over 1 bill market cap. So he also got to experience a crazy diversity range from going from a low cap gem to a true moonshot and everything that went in hand with that. So everyone on our team definitely comes from a very experienced background. So that's kind of where we all kind of met together and said, we see what we need to do and how we need to execute it, but a lot of people don't do it right in this space. And that's where we decided we wanted to step up and come out with a product that can actually be delivered and have the promises be fulfilled while being completely transparent with our community. And that's what brought us here.
Really cool. Yeah, it's a similar case with me. I've noticed so many gaps within the, decentralized finance sector, crypto in general, right? So being able to identify those, create solutions and actually build something and accomplish it is good. And to hear kind of the background with yourself and the team, knowing the experience there, especially dealing when like you said, you go to a higher market cap, things change a lot, with a lot of money. So I know, for me personally, as a more traditional investor, more like, private equity, venture capital, the number one thing I invest into is really the team at first, right? Like a lot of people can have the best ideas in the world, but if you haven't, captured that solid team and created that, it's really hard to scale and become a bigger business or a project in this case, right? So that's really cool to hear, and congratulations on your past projects. So now let's talk about this project. Let's talk about Mochi and maybe the upcoming success that investors could see there. But more importantly, really taking a deep dive inside the project from A to Z. Want to learn more about the swap, some of the marketing plans, move into the NFT. The education, I think, is really key. Folks don't know how to navigate this space yet, as it's still really in the infancy stages. So I'd love to hear more about that and the future plans for the project before we move into the Q&A section.
Absolutely. So, as you kind of mentioned at the very beginning of this AMA, we plan to cover a lot of different sectors and topics. And the reason for that is because one thing I've learned is everybody's different and everybody likes a different form of playing with their money, whether they like the DeFi sector, they like NFTs, they like staking, or they like more safety net things with their money versus high risk, high reward. And I identified that you can't appease that with one or two forms of utility. So what we did was we created many forms, and we started with the swap. And the swap is a passive way where we want to do a workaround with Uniswap. Right now, we actually launched our swap live on day 2. And I've only ever received one complaint about it. It's fully functional, but it is basic. Right now you can't do liquidity pools and other features. It doesn't have a gas tracker on it yet, but that's something where we're going to continue the swap and upgrade it as time progresses and make it much better as we move on further in the future. But the swap's just the tip of the iceberg. After the swap, like I said, we're moving in with a very small limited supply of NFTs, which is about 100 NFTs. And those will represent a DAO token for the project. And the reason we're doing that is we want to make sure that not only do we get to hear the opinion and voices of the community when people talk to us in chat, but we want them to know that we not only heard them, but we understand what they're saying and are really taking it to heart. So by releasing a limited supply of the DAO NFTs, it enables our early on community to truly have an active voice with a vote that they know that their vote will count and be accounted for with every move the project continues to make. So that's something that we wanted to bring out early, which is another form of utility, allowing you guys to really control the project. And it's not controlled from my mindset or a small team's mindset, but yet the community's mindset. Going from there, we did want to have also a true utility with the token itself. So we've been developing and it's pretty much done. We're about to go into the testing phases. We'll probably test it through this weekend and make sure there's no errors with it. But we've developed a staking platform for the token. And the way we structured it is that you'll actually stake your Mochi token to earn Ethereum. So that way you can get a passive income that has nothing to do with the project, and you're not like earning more Mochi and people then dump the Mochi and they get upset about that, but instead you'll earn Ethereum. And so that's like the straight utility with that. And then to bring it all into true scope of the ultimate goal and backbone of what our project is and represents comes into the Mochi education and the Mochi Metaverse plans. Once we have generic utility and passive income and different ways for the community to completely be involved in every process that we want to take forward. Once we get through all of that and we move into the education aspect, we're starting to develop a full education platform. And the way the education platform works is we don't want to just educate one field because everybody's at a different level when they're in the crypto space on terms of knowledge and what they want to explore. But the main concept is if you have a friend in real life and you want to get them in the crypto space, you have to go sit down with them and explain a lot of things to them, how to set up a wallet, how to get started in the space, what to buy first. If you want to go into DeFi and stuff, you have to buy Ethereum first. There's a lot to explain to someone that doesn't know. And so there's nowhere to send them right now. There's nowhere safe that you could say, hey, go here and they'll give you all the info. You have to do it yourself. And that's something that's lacking in the space that we want to fill the void for. So if you have a friend that you want to get in the crypto space, you could say, hey, go check out Mochi and they'll take care of you and teach you all the basics. But at the same time, we wanted to cater to people that join the project and maybe learn the basics and want to advance themselves. So we plan to have all kinds of educational resources, such as courses on nodes, maybe teaching people what nodes are, how they work, how they benefit you, how they benefit the chain of node that you're operating, the form of incomes that you can earn via like staking and nodes or NFTs, DeFi. And there's a lot of different sectors. And so we want to slowly branch out and cover all of these topics so that no matter what phase of learning you're in your crypto adventure, we'll have a piece of content for you to expand that knowledge base. I have a really detailed plan as to how this would actually generate income for the project while also providing that learning to the community all in one ecosystem. And it's kind of like a university, where like the project can hire a professor and people can come and take the course. And then you have teachers being paid to educate in the space, and you have the community members being able to access this knowledge that could be sometimes hard to find. And one of the ways we plan to do this entire educational platform is actually through the metaverse. We haven't really hashed too much into how we're going to do that into the metaverse because I don't want to reveal my entire plan because it's very unique and I don't want it to be stolen. But that's like the general outline of it. But we'll use the metaverse to incorporate the actual learning environment with that. And that's more of our immediate term plans that kind of come up at first. And going on from there, obviously, there's a lot more that we want to build into with the educational resources. But that's something that we want to rely on the DAO for. So the DAO can kind of tell us which sectors to focus on for that learning.
Really cool. I like the DAO part, bringing in, like you were saying, streams of revenue and other ways to interact with the project. I think is really good. And you can scale from that. You're giving that governance aspect to your community, making it more involved. And, any project, especially early stage, along with the team, the community can be just as important. So, having that aspect along with the staking, I can see really working well. Then the education, branding your own content, moving into that realm is really a lucrative spot simply because crypto has not been completely adopted by any means. Like you're saying, you don't know where to go when you get in the space. It's hard to navigate as a novice investor. So coming out and kind of owning that spot, or at least being relevant in that educational manner, can also be a stream of revenue for the company. But on that point, as we move into kind of the Q&A, can you talk about right now how Mochi accumulates the funds to go out and accomplish a lot of these goals? Because I mean, as a business, right, it has to be structured as such in terms of there's probably a dev fee, there's the marketing wallet, etc. So maybe explaining some of those out and how that's being allocated maybe towards the NFTs, building out the DAO and the staking and kind of that metaverse that you're going for would be great to hear.
Absolutely. So some of the costs that a lot of times you would expect are on the lower end due to the fact that a lot of the work is being done in-house through the team. I'll give you guys an example. Like Chirpy himself is actually the artist on our NFTs. He does the 3D art, so that's really cool. A good way for us to kind of save money with things like that. And the dev team, I am the head dev, but I have two other devs, a part of our team that work with me. They're not so much active in the chat as mods, as they just are back-end developers that help me develop all of these platforms, because obviously we were working on the staking, the NFTs, and all of it at the same time. So we've kind of already created everything. And to be quite honest with you, the way we funded the creation of all of it actually came out of my pocket, because we were developing over the course of the past, like, give or take 2 months, with the entire plan being developed over 3 months. So most of the development has actually come out of my pocket so far. But the way we plan to fund everything is through the taxes on the token, as well as obviously some light funding that comes from the NFT sales. We had a higher tax rate on our buys and sells for the first 24 hours on launch, which generated a good little portion of money that we could use to acquire and proceed with these plans. But the way we have it broken down is like the money that we get from the NFTs will directly fund the staking pool, along with a portion from the development funding going into the staking. And the continuous sales tax will actually go directly to the staking. We don't have it titled as like a staking tax right now because the staking platform isn't out, but a portion of the development tax on sales is allocated for that staking. The Metaverse land will be purchased through the dev wallet and the development there through the dev taxes, which is also in the buy and sell tax on the token. The buy and sell tax on the token now is 10% buy tax, with 5% going to marketing and 5% going to development. And the sell tax is 14% right now, with 4% going to liquidity, 5% to marketing, and 5% to development. The marketing wallet will usually end up having more money in it than we probably need for marketing. So anytime if the development comes up short, we would probably just pull from that marketing portion to cover that. But so far, that hasn't been an issue. We have enough funding in there to continue proceeding with plans. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of covers really how it's going to be funded, is mostly through the taxes, and then the NFT minting will directly fund the staking pool at first.
Gotcha. No, and you answered my question perfectly, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the percentage going to the LP just for stability. When you have lower cap tokens, I mean, that's a fresher breath there, knowing that that's getting built up,
right? And
some of the cells, right? So I can appreciate that. So what would you say the timeline is right now? I know that the swap is already live. Kind of, next steps for Mochi as you do scale out into, everything that you're building. Would you say it would be the staking coming next, or kind of, 1, 2, 3 of what to expect as an investor looking at the project of your services to come out?
The next step would actually be the NFTs and the DAO release, because we really want that to be an emphasis. Like, that's really what we're about, is the community and making sure that those in the community are taken care of. So the DAO with the NFTs will most likely be the next thing, just so that way we can quickly get that voice from the opinion and make our DAO group to start running decisions through them instead of just us.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next step. Following that, we'll likely see some upgrades to the swap, because we've already been working on some minor upgrades. And then we'll get that incorporated. From there, obviously, with the DAO being released, the DAO could change our plans by their choice. But if we follow our plans at that point in time, we'll probably release the initial education platform, which would probably only contain the beginner info at first, wallet security, how to get started, how do you download your wallet, and all of the basics. So that way the novice traders that are just starting to learn the space will be addressed first. That's really the easiest info to get out. And we also don't want to charge for that. That's just a piece of info we want to put out there, So you'll end up seeing our education platforms like Alpha State be released. Following the first piece of education would probably then would probably then come with the staking. And following that would be the really further development of the EDU platform and hashing into our educational and metaverse space from there.
Gotcha. Very good. And I see that you guys have locked your team finance. How long is the lock on the liquidity for on the current?
When we launched, we locked it for a week and then extended it right away to a month. So I think I don't look at it, to be quite honest. I don't know. I think it's something like 23 days from now. But with any kind of price movement, we're going to continue to extend it. And that was something we told them from the start. Every time we have any kind of price movement, we'll extend it. Like I said, we launched with a week. And as soon as we had our first real green up movement, I extended it. And once we make any kind of moves again, we'll probably extend it to like 3 months. And then if we hit like 500K or something market cap, we'll extend it to like 6 months and keep extending it. So it's not even a worry on anyone's mind, because that's not something that's on the forefront of our minds at all. So it's not even a concern. If once we drop the DAO as well, the DAO could come out and say, hey, let's just go ahead and extend that to 6 months just because. And well, that's the way the DAO works, and that's what will happen. Right. So if the DAO wants to address that immediately, I'm absolutely all for it, and it's not a concern to me. like I said, I'm all for the community. So that's why we want to get the DAO vote out. So if that's something that they want to say, we'll go right there and address it right head on.
Yeah, and it's not always good to lock for years, up front and at a time. I mean, in terms of whenever you're going, where you're at right now in your lifespan, kind of leaving it open to where to make sure the contract's functioning correctly as you build out the DAO and you have the community engaging in that governance, deciding what they want to do. And who knows, you could have a treasury that's built out in a lot of other aspects, to this current project where you would, have a situation where you could switch contracts or redo it and combine them. So there's a lot of, reasons why I like the liquidity being extended, but also in a relative time frame to, adapt with the current environment, which is in DeFi, right, or
Oh,
whichever the
absolutely.
industry's going. So, no, I tend to start asking a lot of questions, Top. So I'm going to pause just for a minute here. So I'm going to open the floor for our members and our community to ask you a few questions about the project. Like I said, it's going to be our core team and our deal flow committee. So at this time, we'll start unmuting some folks and have them come in before we close out tonight. But Top, I appreciate it. I'll be back probably with more questions, but I just want to tell you, you did a really good job explaining Mochi to me like I was 5, right? I can understand it. And just wanted to give you your flowers there. You did a really good job. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate it. And thank
Yeah,
you for the time that you took.
absolutely. The floor is the committees and the core team. Feel free to ask questions. I'm going to go on mute.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Tanner, and I kind of have a question about your educational platform. And that is for like a novice investor, someone just getting into crypto, does your educational platform weigh in their income levels, like what they plan on investing? And do they steer them away from, say, certain DeFi aspects and try to push them towards more blue chips for beginners, like sticking to central exchanges and stuff?
To be quite honest, the way I have it envisioned is for it to be very direct. I want people to be able to make their own decisions and choose those decisions at their own risk. So I don't plan to make the content where it caters new people to only focus on, let's say, blue chips, but rather it will have a very heavy breakdown explaining what a blue chip is and what the DeFi sector is and what an altcoin is and what high risk, high reward versus maybe a lower risk, but less chance of, losing your money. I really want to just make it black and white so that way they can see all of the different sectors and kind of make their own determination as to what level of risk and reward ratio they want to take. So I don't want to influence my decision of pushing them towards, hey, you might want to stay away from altcoins. That's my choice if I want to influence that on them, and I don't like that. So, like I said, I'd rather be able to lay out each sector very clearly in a very novice beginner way that they'll understand, hey, if I go and mess with some random token that just launched, I understand that that's very high risk. Versus if I'm trading Ethereum, it's a lot less high risk compared to an altcoin that launched an hour ago. But I don't want to push them towards feeling that we've indicated towards one way or the other is more appropriate for them. I just want them to see it all outlined and be able to make their own assessment.
Awesome. And then I had a kind of second follow-up question. So, for like, if a novice person is looking for resources, do you end up or plan on partnering with certain companies or other projects as well to maybe be able to direct some initial resources for people to look based on their choice they want to go with, say DeFi, blue chip, whatever it may be?
Yeah, and so like in Q3 of our roadmap, we talk about team expansion, and that comes directly following the educational platform being released. And one of the reasons that we have the team expansion bullet point actually as a bullet point in the roadmap is literally specifically for the reason you just said. We really want to make sure that we can cater, because I by no means think that I know everything or know all these spaces. I have a lot of knowledge that I want to share, hence why I'm here. But I know that I'm going to need a lot of help from outside communities, which is another great reason that I reached out to the DeFi Angels, because I know that you guys are big in the educational aspect, especially with things like taxes and stuff. So, partnering with people like you guys, even in the future, to maybe have some people sent this way towards for taxes and other things, that's definitely something we're working towards and looking at. and I'm already paying attention to. Like, I have a couple YouTubers that I'm in talks with and in coordination with, so that way they'll help make the educational videos for our platform, so it's not all just like text read, but rather videos, and you can listen to it on the go or have it playing in the background. So again, we're catering from multiple angles. So yeah, definitely will expand, and that's something that will come with right following the basic EDU being released.
I like it. On the next person who has a question.
I have a couple of questions. Firstly, I wanted to say thank you, Top. And as Taylor was saying, you do a really good job of explaining your projects to basically anyone. And that was one of the reasons that I did, personally want to participate, and why I did buy into Mochi, because you're also very genuine. And I just know from the conversations that I've had with you, it's hard to find that in a lot of these projects nowadays. So definitely feel safe with the investment that I made. But as far as your listing, you said that you did want to, a part of your roadmap would be listing on centralized exchanges. The token is taxed. How do you plan on accomplishing that? Would you have to fork to do so? Or what's the plan on how you're going to achieve that?
Right. So we've already kind of begun looking at that. And I've stated before, like, we have a list of certain exchanges that we want to list with and certain ones that we really don't. Some centralized exchanges don't have the best reputation. And personally, I'd rather just stay away from those ones. I'm not going to list off any names or throw any exchange under the bus, but I'm sure you guys can imagine some that I'm talking about. So yeah, we will definitely have to potentially alter, but it's not an issue. It's something that's already been addressed and worked on in the back end. So it's not something that we see like a speed bump or something that'll slow us down in any way. We haven't begun discussion with any of these centralized exchanges by any means, but we definitely have an entire plan laid out for which ones we want and how, like, what order we would like to see us listed on each exchange, working our way up to the bigger ones. But I think right now our list only has 8 different centralized exchanges on it, because again, we're not going to try and focus on all of them. We only want to get some of the ones that have a better reputation behind them, and that's something that we'll end up focusing on after the EDU platform is released and that team expansion that I've talked about.
Okay, and then as far as your NFT holders, they're basically going to have the ability to vote. What are some of the decisions that they're able to make for holding the NFTs, and are there going to be like different levels or tiers based on what NFTs they hold?
At first, no. So like I said, we're only going to release 100 of the NFTs at first to really give the immediate core supporters the voice. In terms of what they have a voice on, it's going to be virtually everything. We don't want to keep anything from the DAO. Everything will be ran through the DAO. And the only time I foresee a vote coming up is we'll basically explain our plan and what we want to do. And if anyone has an objection when we're presenting our plan and course of action, they can speak up about it and the community will talk about it. And as often as possible, we'd probably just try to come to a consensus where the entire community agrees and then just cast that vote. So it's not even like it comes down to the vote situation, because we always just want to be clear and actually act the way the community wants. So then ultimately, any major decision or any major funding that gets spent once the DAO is released will be ran through the DAO. I don't want to make any decisions on my own unless it's necessary for like the integrity of the project, which I don't foresee that being a thing. But like I said, once the DAO is released, they control it.
Thank you. And then my last question would be about the wallet. I personally like, projects that on a multi-sig, just because I don't like one person in particular having control of the funds. So can you discuss if that's something that you plan on doing as far as having a multi-sig? Can you go into that for us, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something, like you mentioned, that we've actually talked about with our community members before. We've even talked about in a public voice chat in our Telegram. Having a multi-sig wallet is not an issue. Everybody that works on my team, I fully trust. So having a multi-sig wallet it doesn't hinder us in any way or affect us. So we're all A-okay to do that. I did code it into the contract so that way I can change the marketing and dev wallet and put those onto a multi-sig wallet, so that way I alone don't control it. I have absolutely no issue with that. So I mean, that's something that we could get done very soon if that's something that community really wants. Again, I have no issue with that. Personally, I'd probably prefer that because I have no intent on doing anything that I shouldn't be with that money. And that makes me feel more secure because then if my wallet were ever to be jeopardized, the project funds wouldn't be as well. So definitely something we will end up doing here in the near future, regardless, just for the simple fact of security.
Thank you. That was my last question.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your questions. If anyone else has questions, I'd love to.
Hello, sir. My name is Justin. I do have a few questions for you.
Awesome.
So far, though, I just want to say I've loved hearing you speak. I love hearing the motivations for why you're actually starting this project. It sounds like it aligns with why we're all kind of in this entire space as DeFi Angels, because we're looking for investor safety. We want to, be leaders in this space, and it sounds like you kind of have the same viewpoints. I was on your website. Your website looks great, by the way. I love the colors. I'm a huge fan of Mochi in general. I'm on your website and I'm looking at the roadmap, and I'm specifically looking at Q2. You're releasing NFTs. You have your educational platform that you want to drop, as well as the DAO and staking. This all seems very ambitious to try to accomplish in just one quarter. So I was hoping you would be able to talk a bit more on your team as a whole, the kind of experiences that they've all had, and just provide a little more closure and confidence to our investors as to why we think you will be able to accomplish all this.
Absolutely. So one thing I do want to take note of is obviously that is very ambitious to deliver in such a short time period. But one of the differentiating factors that we did from a lot of other projects is like I stated, we started the development on all of these fronts long before the project was ever launched or even talked about on the market. Me and the other two devs and my co-partner Chirpy have been working on this project. Chirpy and I have been discussing it and ironing out plans and the initial thought process since like mid to early December. And me and the other two devs actually started getting to work roughly around a month and a half to 2 months ago on all of this. So we've already developed a majority of all of this stuff, and we're already in the testing phases for most of this stuff versus releasing. Like, we only are about a week old, so we've already been in development. It's not like we launched and then are now trying to develop and release it in that short period of time. And that's one of the reasons why we feel like we can deliver it in such a short period of time. But again, to talk about the background, everyone on my team has been in the crypto space for several years. So like the other two developers, the first one, he's been working in Solidity and development for, I think he said about 2.5 years. And my other dev that works with me has actually been working on Solidity for about 4 years now. And like I said, each one of them is helping me with a specific thing. The 4-year dev is working on like our staking aspect, while the other dev and I are focusing on like the EDU platform and the swap. So because of the fact that we have two like separate, you could argue, small development teams working from different angles, it really allows us to accomplish more in a shorter period of time. Our staking platform right now, the entire front end has been developed, and I've actually shown the front end inside of our Telegram chat, so they've seen a sneak peek without APY rates or anything released, but at least just the front end. Like, they've even seen the front end, so we've released that. The back end of it is pretty much done right now. We just haven't started testing on the staking contract yet, but it is done as of I think like 3 or 4 hours ago. We pretty much wrapped it up, but we haven't begun testing, so that's something we're going to do throughout the weekend and stuff. Like I said, with like the swap, we've already released it. The swap functions on it work great. I've had at least a dozen plus people confirm that they've used our swap, and only one person had issues, and it was a device related issue because when he went to his desktop or his tablet, it worked fine, but he has like a really old phone. But past him, we've had no issues with the swap. So like I said, we've already been working on it, and then with some of the things we have dropped already, we haven't had any issues. And so we kind of hope that that shows that we at least have the experience of working in these fields before. And then also, like I said, Chirpy, my partner, he's worked in NFT for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. He's been involved in NFTs. Chirpy actually went to college for, I can't remember the specific degree title. I think it had something to do with technology and design. He actually has done artwork. He's worked on helping develop pieces of Tesla's art on some of their vehicles, not like designing the whole vehicle or anything. He's just worked on small, intricate details throughout his art learning career in college. So we definitely have a lot of experience in the things that we're trying to develop. By no means are we trying to overextend ourselves or branch out into a field that we're not comfortable in.
I appreciate you answering that. There's a common thing in the crypto world right now where people kind of get inspired, being a part of the crypto space, and they want to jump in and start these new projects and stuff without the proper experience to do so. So I can definitely appreciate you and your team coming together, kind of having a background in this already and working towards accomplishing a goal that's going to be for the greater good of the crypto space as a whole. My next question that I want to ask you real quick. You had mentioned earlier when you were talking about the educational aspect, is this going to be like a platform on your website, or is it something you plan on doing like in the metaverse?
Both, actually. So at first we want to make it, it's going to be both. And the reason for that is because if we're trying to cater to novice entry level crypto ventures, they're not going to want to jump into the metaverse to try and learn about the space, obviously. So you're not going to be able to cater to them. But at the same time, without releasing too many details, it's going to be involved with both. So like you'll have all of the background and basic info laid out on a website, but then we plan to use like the metaverse to make it more hands-on, engaging with the community to where we can actually do events or actually hold seminars, or you could show up in person to see this person teach about it, the topic that you want to show up for, and then it can actually be in a really cool animated YouTube video through the metaverse and be displayed that way so people later could come by and view that through the metaverse, and that would actually be teaching them about the metaverse as well as the topic they're learning about at the same time. So it'll definitely be done through both means.
Beautiful. That sounds like a good idea to me. And I think it's obvious, but I'm going to ask anyways. Is it going to be based on the Ethereum blockchain?
Yes, it is. So we are based on the Ethereum blockchain, but if you actually kind of peek at the Q4, we have plans to go onto another blockchain. And the way that's going to work is it'll actually give everybody an airdrop for a 1-to-1 token ratio. But that's going to be something that's way down the road. I'm not going to talk about what that chain is. And some of the things that involve us going over to that chain are slightly out of our control based on their actions in the upcoming months. And some of you guys may be able to know what chain I'm talking about just off of those details. But when that happens, we'll be on that chain as well. But it'll still be Ethereum based because the staking and everything will obviously be ran through the Ethereum blockchain.
Beautiful. Thanks for answering, man. I'm going to do one more quick one and then pass it on to the rest of the deal flow committee. I don't know if you actually touched on this in the beginning or not as I was driving, so pardon me if you did, but why did you choose the name Mochi?
Honestly, so we had pretty much developed 98% of the entire project before we picked the name and what we were going to kind of market it as. The reality is we were thinking about it and we were like, we want to make sure it's simple, sweet, and straight to the punch, right? And so we were thinking about what is simple, sweet, and straight to the punch. And it's Mochi. It's really simple, it's basic, it's sweet, but it gets you exactly what you need if you ever have like that sweet craving. And that's kind of what we were thinking with the educational aspect. It's simple, sweet, and straight to the punch, and you'll get the info you need in an easy, understandable format to learn it.
I like it. There's definitely like a simplicity to the creativity that you can provide with the name Mochi as well. So I think that was a great job. And I appreciate you answering my questions. And thanks for coming on to do this AMA with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions. And if anyone else has anything.
Yeah, we might actually have more questions.
If no one does, I have a question.
Have at it, Mr. Tanner.
So are you guys kind of planning to turn into like a university almost? Or where your name is so reputable that you could license the product?
Yes, actually. That is the ultimate plan behind it. Again, I don't want to sound over ambitious or zealous because it's going to be a slow process to get to that point. But that is one of the reasons why we chose to go through the metaverse. We foresee the metaverse being a pretty key aspect of the crypto future. And that's why we want to venture into it early and try and secure our spot there. Because eventually in the future, as more and more things develop in the metaverse space, there will be a need for like the Mochi EDU and that platform space as a quote unquote college or educational system. But I don't want to limit us to that term college, because we want to be able to cater to all levels of education. Like I said, we've already actually not directly spoken, but I know for a fact that we've even had minors on our voice chat before listening, because they're already into the crypto space and looking into making NFTs and stuff. So we want to be able to cater to every level. So I don't want to use like the term college, but yes, we will be like a form of university, but catering to everyone.
I like it. I like the sound of it.
I'm going to throw in one more quick question there. We'll wait for other people. You were talking about staking. They're going to be rewarded in ETH. Do you have something set up to where like gas fees and stuff are optimized for users to claim rewards?
Yeah, they're going to be optimized as much as possible. I don't have like statistics to tell you, because like, as I said, it's been written. So there is like gas optimization in the code. What that's going to look like, I can't answer yet, because like I told you, we're going to start testing that tomorrow and throughout this weekend. So, possibly by Monday, I might be able to start releasing more details about the staking based on the testing and what we find. If I don't like the gas optimization, I'll go back and we'll re-edit it and try and make it better, so that way we don't have that issue. Because of course I don't want people to lose a good portion of their staking rewards due to a gas fee, because we all know how unpredictable the Ethereum gas can be.
Gotcha. Good answer. That stuff's always fun to talk about with how crazy gas fees are. Someone else on our committee had a question. They wanted to know, are you building your own metaverse, or are you going to be using an existing one?
So to be quite honest, the initial approach is probably going to be acquiring land in an existing metaverse, with the ultimate goal to pursue looking into building our own metaverse. But right now, to be able to get the immediate EDU platform out and start having that aspect in the space, it'll be much more feasible to deliver it in a more sensible time frame by just acquiring land and starting there, while eventually evolving into our own metaverse. Because with coming the identity of creating that university aspect, we'd obviously want to be able to have our own branding, So we'll evolve into that, but it will be starting in an existing space.
That makes sense to me. I think that's a good idea as well. I want to kind of bounce back to the education aspect of it again. Are you going to have your own separate team put together for this? Is there going to kind of be a resultant mix from the team you already have established?
So, I mean, personally, that's a weird way to answer that one. We're going to be bringing on people that are exclusively for this, because we want people that are working on this to not just be working on it or working on it for a paycheck. Like, this needs to be a dedication, because that's where I'm coming from. And if you're not dedicated to the cause of what it is, to be quite honest, I wouldn't want you working on it. So it will be a dedicated team, but like me and Chirpy will obviously still have our hand in everything, because we're kind of helping oversee everything that goes on in the project. So I'll very heavily be involved in the EDU space, because that's my passion. But he and I will still be involved in everything. But everyone else we plan to put in the EDU sector will probably be exclusively for that, as we're going to make sure that they're qualified to do what they're doing over there as well.
Beautiful. Thanks again. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Love the questions.
Knocked them all out of the park tonight. I'm looking at our internal chat now. The one question I guess I have, and before we would close out, where is the best way to get in touch with Mochi for any investors that are listening after this call when we share this out? How do people reach you?
Our Telegram is probably one of the most easiest and convenient ways for you guys to get a hold of us, because our Telegram community is phenomenal. So if I'm absent at the moment, the community will absolutely step in. But I'm very active. So is Chirpy and the entire team in the Telegram. So definitely a great space. If you're not as familiar with Telegram, we do have a Discord set up, so you can come to the Discord platform and get a hold of me there as well. And if you're not in either one of those, you can definitely reach out to us via the Twitter account. We check that constantly. So any one of those three methods are a phenomenal way to get a hold of us. And if not us, people from the community that could also assist you.
Amazing. And for everybody else listening out there, feel free to check out Mochi online. It's MOCHI, DeFi, DEFI.com. And check out their website. Beautiful website, by the way. And we did have one more question pop up from A in our group. She wants to know, what are the plans to move up the chart here in the short term?
We have a couple marketing promotions that we're trying to work with. We got a couple people, like I talked about, in the YouTube space that would like to start promoting the project and have a role in the EDU space. We also have 2 different Twitter influencers that we're trying to talk to, but they're still scoping out the project, and we're in discussion with that. So we have a couple different avenues of marketing that we're beginning to pursue, but still ironing out, but definitely making progress towards it. But the thing is when we're pursuing our marketing plans, we're not trying to target some kind of immediate pump. We don't want to get a bunch of people that are expecting 100x today and get out tomorrow. We're trying to build a future and build an ecosystem that could actually change the space. So we're also, while looking at the marketing, trying to make sure the people that are going to market us are in tune with our vision.
Got it. Yeah. And that's a really good answer, simply because you don't want that pump and dump type mentality or project. So finding the right investors to stick with the vision and be a part of something is where you're going to find the most success. Absolutely. And one thing I would suggest is, as you're attracting, a lot of these people to come into the ecosystem and be a part of what you're building, I would definitely proof up, on some of the white paper and the website at that, and just really make it clean, and in terms of the verbiage, maybe a couple typos, things like that, and really have that solid, because that's going to be one of the first things, like, a lot of these bigger groups will, tend to look at, and they can judge you in certain ways. So just one suggestion there. And also, I would definitely suggest too, reaching out and creating some very strategic partnerships in this space, right? Being young and in the infancy, there is a lot of competition around, what you are building. So a lot of people are doing it. I always find the best way is aligning with other groups, like you were saying earlier in the call, potentially maybe with us. And then there's more out there that can bring you, not only that strategic knowledge, but also the strategic capital, right? And I think both of those together is a great mix to accomplish your goals.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate the feedback, and we will get on that. And I do apologize for any typos you guys do find throughout our white paper and stuff. That was written by myself, and I'm not going to lie, I am not the most grammatically correct person. So I've actually brought someone on the team who writes for a living. He's like a journalist, and he'll be assisting us with writing all of the content that definitely goes on our EDU platform. And I'll go back and definitely proofread through all of our info and adjust any errors that I have made.
And you're preaching to the choir, my friend. It's funny. We actually just revamped our website, so I can totally relate. And not everything comes out perfect on that first or second time.
Right.
It's kind of like projects in crypto, that ongoing development. Same with on the web. So I can feel you. Just wanted to point it out. Just things to clean up. We have the same issues, but I thought this was a really great AMA. I got to learn a lot about the project. I feel like I've really understood Mochi at a high level. So with that being said, I'm going to conclude it. And from here, what we'll do is get this compressed down, have it put into a really nice video, branded to both of our respective projects companies. And then we'll have that published on YouTube to be shared amongst all socials. So we'll encourage you guys to, share that with your community and get it out there for everybody to hear, as this can be a great tool to attract new investors to the project for even months to come. But again, great job tonight, Top. I really enjoyed talking to you, learning more again, and definitely want to move in some conversations potentially offline and talk a little bit more about the development, and keep an eye on the project as you guys continue to scale and grow.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you guys taking the time and having us here today. It means a lot. Thank you guys for hearing us out and learning about us.
Right on. Well, hey, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I know it's St. Patty's Day, so I won't, keep everybody up too long, but we're going to go hang out in our chat and talk about this. We do due diligence after the call as well. So we'll definitely be in touch, and we'll have the recording sent over to you, Top. But hey, have a good night, my friend. Again, great AMA, and it was a pleasure hosting you, and I'd love to have you back sometime.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you guys, and I look forward to it.